Maria Lewis, and I'll be running today's dojo. I'm going to welcome our illustrious agents here with us. We have the best of the best. Today's topic is going to be an interesting one. Topic is attitude. So today, with this conversation, how I would like to take it is less on the inner workings of Medicare spectrum to the other end of the more transcendental, more abstract part of that. How does attitude, and what I'm talking about as far as attitude is concerned, your attitude when you're selling and discussing Medicare on a day-to-day basis, the client's attitude, your coworker's attitude, how does all of that affect you being able to sell and do what you need to do as far as the educational process for people on Medicare? What do you do to keep a good attitude maybe when it's tough? It's maybe the mood in the room is low. Give me your how do you keep a good attitude, Stephen, when maybe everybody's not in the happiest of spirits? How do you keep it up?
Well, I remember when I would have calls that were back to back I had a client that was rude, or I had a call that did not work out. And when I first started, or when I was early on in the business, I would think that was on purpose. Like, it was like, why am I getting these calls specifically? Like, is there a pattern, or is there is the lead source sending me rude? I would really justify this as logical, that particularly these calls are like, why did they get together and say, let's piss off Steve and Grip today?
You were blaming the leads.
I was blaming the leads. I was blaming the person's experience in their own life at the time to create this rudeness. And I would be like, gosh, why is it working this way for me? And then I realized over time, the way that the business works is just a random, arbitrary way that calls come in.
I call it grumpy day.
Yeah.
Some days it just falls that way.
Yeah, it just does.
Yeah.
You just had, because some days you have like amazing days and some days you have grumpy days. So what I would do if I get days like that, because I'm very stubborn, I have to walk away from my desk. I have to walk away and reset, go talk. What I really like to do is bother people and talk to them and say, hey, how's your day going? Let's have a conversation about anything other than work, And sometimes they're like, Griff, I got a good call.
Yeah.
Don't jinx it.
Right. Try to clear your mind.
It is just kind of like, I just have to walk away, kind of recalibrate and say, okay, this is just, I got some bad calls. I'm not going to let it ruin my day. It's just random, and then just go back and then just attack the day as I did at 8:00 in the morning.
But when something like that happens to you, would you say that is more of, is it just a coincidence that you had several people with bad attitudes in a row, or do you think it was you? Did you reflect on yourself and say, well, was it my own attitude?
It's never my fault.
No, it's never your fault.
Never my fault. Never. I'm always, no. Joking aside, it depends on the time of the day. If I get calls early on and they're successively rude, I won't look into it that much. I just chalk it up to random, rudeness. Like they're having something bad and I just couldn't get past their grumpy day.
Yeah.
But definitely later in the day, if I have calls that are successively rude later in the day, I know that my patience is thinner than normal. So I'll definitely be like, okay, I can't let them bother me. And I'll still stick to the same methods of stepping away. Maybe it's a lot shorter stepping away because I want to get back on the phone, get something going before the end of the day. But I do more reflection later in the afternoon because I know if I've had a good day, then if I get somebody grumpy in the afternoon, it's not going to be that. But I'm more reflective to that later in the day.
Do you start pushing these people further to try to get them out of their bad mood, or do you just accept that they're going to be in a bad mood and you just kind of entertain yourself and continue the conversation as far as I'll let it?
Yeah, it honestly depends on the person. There's varying types of rudeness. There's someone who's just constantly questioning their plan, and they're not listening to what I'm saying, and they're becoming impatient. So that's different than someone who's just straight up curt to me and saying, I don't want why you called me. I'm always a equal level of patience until someone crosses the line and is just like categorizing me as someone who's just a random person on the phone who's treating me disrespectfully, I never lose my temper. I never flip the switch. But I also know, like I said, the varying levels of rudeness are going to depend on where it is in the call and me trying to push as much as I can until they're like, nope, I'm done with you. And I'm like, okay, I did what I could. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, accept it and move on. Okay. Penny, what do you do on a daily basis to keep yourself in a good mood while we're making sales calls?
I try to find cheerful or funny things to laugh at. Laughing in between helps. I was telling Stephen just the other day about sometimes when we get these, what I call the grumpy days, is when I have several people either in succession or like really close together. And I know that it's not my fault. I didn't create whatever the issue was. If there's nothing I can say that's helping them, I don't know, it gives me a different kind of energy, and it's kind of strange because it doesn't make sense to me. I haven't figured out why I get this energy, but it kind of makes me like, not during the call, but I mean, the whole idea of I've had 3 today or, that were blah, 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 that it sort of makes me kind of giggly, like, wow, there's all kinds of things going on in the world that I don't have any control over. There's, and it kind of makes me like in a silly mood, like, okay, well, but they're not all going to be this way. The next one's going to be fine. It's going to be great or whatever. It kind of, when I realize I'm getting that happening, it's sort of like, well, so what are the odds?
You kind of laugh at it and then tell yourself, oh, wow, it's just a string of bad luck and it's going to turn around.
Yeah.
You look at it that
way. The best
way.
I could do with each of these or whatever. And, they weren't in a place to be helped right now, but, later maybe.
And do you do like Stephen, so you mentioned in between those calls, you'll talk with somebody or joke around. Do you joke around about and like vent about the calls, or do you just change the subject like him and just try to joke about something else and get your mind off it and reset?
Either, I'm both. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say that I think some calls, if there's cursing and things like that involved, then I have a much shorter tolerance or whatever. I don't get angry, but I'm like, well, how long do if I can't change it around with another sentence or two, we don't need to keep this conversation going.
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't want to be
shorter
sitting there being
bandwidth
abused or whatever, and so there's a fine line, I think, on that. But when there's cursing or name calling or any of that kind of stuff involved, then it's like,
you take that
okay, well, I'm sorry, I couldn't help you today. Let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. Brad, I'm sure you've been in the business a long time, and how have you over the years kept such a good attitude or kind of offset clients that have a nasty attitude when you're just trying to help them? What advice do you have?
Well, I have to say, if we didn't have any challenges in life, it'd be pretty darn boring.
That's true.
And we're always get hit with things. And, my philosophy is don't get angry, fix it. You have to analyze the situation. If somebody's rude on the phone or whatever, maybe it's just bad timing. You called them at a bad time. Did I catch you at a bad time? You're in the middle of something, you're driving or whatever. Are they frustrated with something? Timing is so important when it's dealing with clients. You have to get them at the right time, in the right mood. If not, you reschedule, But I've always said it's what goes on between your 2 ears in sales. You have to constantly monitor your own thoughts. Do I get frustrated? Absolutely. I had a deal this morning. I'm at the end of the app, and it was like redoing something. So it's at 50%, and I'm making small talk with the client, watching this thing go up one at a time. We hit 99%, and it just keeps spinning.
Yeah, frustrating.
For another 15 minutes. So I finally just had to get out of it and start over, and it's just, we deal with that stuff, and just move on. I've learned over time, when I was younger, I used to get all frustrated and mad and stuff, and sometimes lose my temper at certain things. But after a while, you realize that doesn't accomplish anything. You really have to just relax, especially in sales. You're going to get hit with a lot of stuff. Cold calling, knocking on doors. You're going to get doors slammed in your face all day long.
Yeah.
How do you cope with that?
Right. So it sounds like you almost call it out, when they've got a bad attitude, did I catch you at a bad time? Do you go even further, say, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I'll call it out and say, did I say something that upset you? Did I catch you at a bad time? Are you, afraid I'm going to try to push something on you? Like what, are you dealing with something? And try to get them to open up to me. And either it'll just make them more mad and they hang up, or usually it gets them to open up and tell me what is really going on. And usually that fixes the problem. We can at least get over that, because I think that's part of gaining their trust.
Absolutely.
Helping fix their attitude. And maybe it's just something that's totally not related to me or this call or Medicare or anything that's causing them to sound super grumpy or short with you. And I think what you can address that, right? If it's something, maybe they're taking care of grandkids that are not behaving. Look, let's you know what, you've got your hands full, your plate's full. Let's do this another time. Or if it's an issue where maybe they had an agent try to push something down their throat and change them without their consent or something like that, well, then you can address that. You want to address that and why. You're not going to do the same thing. You're not, the intention of the call is not to try to sell you something right away. It's to try to get to know you and you get to know me and we figure it all out together. And I think that quells a lot of that bad attitude if you'll just address it head on.
They'll appreciate that too,
sure.
Because, we get, I got somebody on the phone. I have to keep them on the phone. I have to sell them. And that just makes it worse. You might be able to turn it around, but if it's a bad time for them, if they're in the middle of some frustrating thing and they've got 5 things going on at once, they're cooking dinner and they're, my pie's about ready to burn, whatever, it's time to reschedule it,
right.
And you want to get all the parties involved anyway, which is very important. A lot of times people get, finally get somebody on the phone and it's a one-legged deal, but they continue forward anyway. And you have to reschedule regardless because, you didn't have all the interested parties on the phone.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's a constant challenge, and negativity is a disease that affects all sales departments, no matter where you're working, the parking lot meetings, the negativity. You can't let that stuff fester. You can't go along with it. Hang around with people that are like-minded or positive, and want to have success, but just to bitch about stuff. Yeah. Get rid of it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think a positive attitude is very infectious, and so is a negative attitude.
More so.
Yeah, absolutely. And if one person on the floor maybe is always negative, or they come in and something's bothering them, and if you're close enough, like I feel like we are, you can sense something is off, and then it kind of throws the whole dynamic off. And I kind of feel like it's the same situation where addressing what the issue is with the client, why they have a bad attitude. Sometimes addressing it among your coworkers is also a good thing to do. Depending on how well you know them. I don't know, Stephen, if you don't mind me bringing up an example, you and I, when we first were working together, I don't know if it was just that I think sometimes you would let certain slow days get to you, and I could sense that. Because usually you had a positive attitude all the time, but every once in a while I could tell there was a weird aura or mood around you.
I definitely made it known.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I let it go a couple times, and then the third time I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm gonna dig into his business and be like, look, dude, what is your deal? Are you going through something? Can I help with something? Like, what I can sense what's going on, and you don't realize it, but it's kind of creeping into the floor. You're not just under yourself. And so I think we talked it out, and I think you were more aware of it because I don't think you were even aware that it was affecting others.
Yeah. When you are in sales, you're going to have up and down days. So I hated down days. I hated when deals didn't go my way, like a lot. So they happen every once in a while. It's the nature of the business. So, sometimes I don't see that, because I don't care. But then I had to start to care because I have people that actually care about me and how I'm doing, because I don't want to affect people around me's attitude.
Right.
So it was funny that you came and said, "Hey, you all right?" And I'm like, "Oh," it was funny too, because I'm like, "I'm fine." It's like,
I'm like,
you
no,
don't,
you're not.
you're not fine. You
No.
are a baby. You're acting like a baby.
You're a little
How
poopy
are you a
pants.
little baby?
What did I say? I said, you're being a little poopy pants
Yeah.
over there.
I'm like, what are you talking about? And we talked it out, and it's like, you know what, you're right. And it helped, how I conducted myself, because, when you're used to doing the way that you do things, you're like, okay, I win, or if I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna be really upset about it.
Mhm.
And it's like, let's turn that back a notch. And it helped out a lot, because, on days like that, it's like I was able to talk to you, and I was like, okay, figured out how to get to the next one. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I mean, absolutely, everybody is allowed to be in a bad mood or have their little pity party. I think you should absolutely experience those emotions and not suppress them, because what happened. Oh yeah, what's the healthiest thing to do? Just shove the emotions down, to shove it down. There will never be any repercussions of that. That's so false, because eventually it's going to come up, or if you don't deal with it or address it or validate what you're feeling, it's just going to keep going and going, and again, it's going to bleed onto your other coworkers. And I think it's just a matter of, you're in a bad mood. Do what you have to do to get out of it. Yes, stew about it for a little while, walk off, go walk, tire yourself out, walk around the building, have a cigarette, talk to somebody who would help you be in a better mood, vent it out, whatever. But then get over it, because what does that do? That just affects your own sales. If you're having a slow day, or clients that are kind of ugly to you, it's just going to amplify it. It's not going to make anything better. It's just going to make it worse. You're going to push too much. That attitude, your clients are going to sense it over the phone, and it really just you just kill yourself. So I think when you find yourself having a bad attitude, what I do with myself is, I will go vent to somebody about it. Oh, can you believe this crazy lady? She said these crazy curse words I'd never heard before, and that's crazy. Like, who says that to another human being? Like, she must be, and we just think of all these scenarios. Oh, this person, they must be going through this or this or that. Or I'll just have to walk away and just reset. But yeah, you're absolutely allowed to have a little bad attitude for a little while, but get over it, because it benefits yourself when you could just get over that and get back in line and back on the wagon again.
I was getting frustrated this week because I came from a different background like you guys, and I only have 2 states that I'm licensed in to do on my own. And so it's literally calling the same 15 people. And I'm like, I'm not leaving another voicemail that I left yesterday. I'm just not doing it, because it's annoying to me.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. So I'm sitting there I've already called all my old clients. Okay, I'm not leaving them another voicemail, because I just left them one yesterday, right? So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So I'm racking my brain. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm just going to get more states. So that's what I did, because I'm like, I'm not going to wait around for the states to fall in my lap. I'm going to take charge and get my own states.
There you go.
So I just decided I could have sat there and been annoyed because I would have to let the same voicemail to the same people. Nope. I decided I'm going to just add to my, whatever, add to my pile, or add to my,
you're the states that you excel in, and your opportunities.
Yeah. So I just took it upon myself, instead of, like you're saying, instead of sitting there and continuing to feel sorry for myself and be mad about it, I'm like, it's not worth it. It's
You took charge and did something about it.
I'm going to fix it myself.
Yeah.
But I did. Really, so.
Good. So you took charge, and you're getting more.
That's my point. Sometimes you just got to figure out a different path. If something's not working, and for me anyway, you got to change up the voicemail. You got to change up your stories that you tell. You got to change up something's just got to change. If you're in a bad mood and something's not working, sometimes you got to change it up a little bit. And that's kind of how I was feeling this morning. Okay, something's got to be different now. So hopefully that will do something.
It will. I was going to say, one of the things, on the note about attitude and how it can affect things, one of the things that I think that I use in my own head to help me get past some of those negative calls or whatever is well, that one's done. That'll never happen again. Each one, when you're done with the call, if you were not able to help, or they were saying words you've never heard before.
Mhm.
And if there's something you cannot help them with and they're not ready for help right now, and it's not, let's make an appointment for tomorrow and talk when you're not driving or when you're not, the kids aren't there or whatever the thing, you know, if it's one of the very unpleasant phone calls, then I'm like, okay, check that box. It's done.
Mhm.
It's behind
It's
you.
not personal.
No, it has nothing. They don't know me at all. And they didn't give me a chance to know me.
Yeah.
But it's done. It's behind you. That's never going to happen again. It's always going to be somebody different or a different situation. And the next grumpy person or whatever, you may be able to get through. And like with some of the things you were saying, you know, it's like, oh, is this a bad time? Do you need
Yeah.
another, you know, or whatever. But the one that you just went through that was upsetting or unsettling
Mhm.
is already done and it's in the past and it's not, it doesn't have to keep going forward through your day with you.
Right. Because some people are just nasty.
Yeah.
There's no objection. They're just a hateful, unhappy person, and they're more than what brings them joy is ruining other people's day. And you're never going to get past that. You can try, but I think once you dig a little bit and you realize, you know what, this person just loves to be unhappy and miserable, and right, you just kind of cut it short. Like a weird thing I do sometimes is sometimes it gets awkward, right? Sometimes it gets awkward depending on what they say, and you don't know how to respond to it. And I think sometimes they do it on purpose, that they know people just don't know how to react to some trigger word or something they say, something abusive or unsettling. And so, I just end the call. And sometimes I'll be kind of flustered, like, oh my God, why didn't I, say something to this person or whatever? And sometimes I'll kind of like run it back in my head and like, what would I have said to that person if I could redo it again? Like I do like arguments in the shower. I redo arguments in the shower all the time. So sometimes I do it in the shower, but sometimes I'll just like sit there for a little bit and like redo the argument in my own head. Like, oh, I would have told him this. And you know what? So, and that's one way I get past it.
It's a way to vent,
to process it,
right.
to emotionally process it, and
right.
just accept it and be okay with it, to move on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one weird thing I do. But
to support what Brad said, I always tell myself it was a bad time.
Mhm.
I just cut them off at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have been in the middle of doing something, and then I come in and say, "Hey, want to talk Medicare?" They're like, So I just tell myself, "Okay, you sound like you're not ready to talk on the phone. Let's call you later."
I look at the notes sometime, and there seems like in the temporary notes, this person's extremely rude. Be very careful. I'll get them on the phone. They're super nice.
Mhm.
So it's a timing thing, and all these things are learning experiences. And we deal with different situations every day with different people, and you can have fun with it. You can say, thank you for this opportunity to be confronted with this frustration, because, in a way, these are all little tests and things. I believe that. And, you're not going to learn and grow in life if you don't have these reactions, especially with human interactions. We're social people, and we learn how to communicate and be positive with people and be uplifting. And we've also learned how to be negative and know how to get people angry, and then push buttons and that sort of thing. And I take great joy in getting somebody that's very abusive on the phone and turning them around.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
That's
the
a win
best.
for me.
Yeah.
If you can start them off, and then by the end of the call, you're friends and they're buying something. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. Because let's face it, people get hammered by telemarketers all day long. And you're just the other guy. What do you want? We get that. So we learn how to diffuse these things, which becomes an art,
Absolutely.
And we have one mode of communication. That's our voice. And my voice is always kind of raspy. But you work with what you have, and you just have to have that right attitude. Monitor your thoughts, and I'm like you. I'll be in the shower and I'm thinking about something, and I keep telling myself, Brad, that's just a waste of mental energy. You know, and Bonnie's telling me, you know, how come you're so spacey? It's because my mind is somewhere else. I'm thinking about some deal that I should have said this, and I should have
I
done
call that
that.
shower therapy.
Yeah,
I have
right,
my
shower
shower
therapy,
therapy every
you
night.
know.
Yeah.
But you know, we waste a lot of mental energy worrying about certain things that there's nothing to worry about.
Right.
You know, worry and fear. Those are not good things. You know, we talked about the fears, or at least I did, about the negative aspects of fear, you know, and use your mental energy on things that will be productive for you versus going back and trying to rewrite history. You know, and I do that all the time. I go back, well, I should have done this, should have done that. And perhaps in the future that's a learning experience, but I find myself wasting a lot of mental energy thinking about that stuff. Maybe I had an argument with somebody or relationships or whatever. And yeah, I mean, boy, it's a lifetime learning experience.
It's true.
Right.
Trying to get that
You have
out.
to make the effort daily.
Yeah, and we all want to be better people, you know, but sometimes you get caught in a rut, you know, and you can create a negative cloud around yourself where you're actually attracting bad stuff to
That's
happen.
true.
And, you know, I've got clients like that. Everything bad happens to them all the time. I'm like, why does this person have everything go wrong with their family, with their health, with their family's health? And, you know, I wonder, you know, what's going on there? I mean, this is not normal, you know, but I attribute a lot of that to our thought processes and just how we think.
Right. And that kind of brings me to, like, you know, when you're going home and processing things, how do you, like, if you're having a bad attitude at home or you have something emotional going on at home, how do you not bring that to work? Or do you bring that to work? Or how do you deal with that so that it doesn't affect you and your performance and your job and your sales and your conversations with these people? How do you all handle that stuff if that ever comes up? Anybody?
It's like a light switch.
Mm-hmm. You compartmentalize.
Say leave it in the car
Mhm.
or whatever.
You have to compartmentalize.
You know, you just have to, just block it off.
Mhm.
And I like we do those birthday calls in the morning, which I love, because you can be nice and cheery and happy birthday, and you get people that are happy on the phone, you know, and it's just a different mindset. You have to have a happy mindset, smile, you know, whatever it takes. But it's almost like you're a different person sometimes. You just put all that stuff away. You got to compartmentalize it. Right.
I mean, it'll come through sometimes.
Mhm.
But as an example, it'll come out sometimes. But I think you just have to, if it's going to come out, then you just kind of like we were saying before, you got to just step away and deal with it, and then put it back away and come back.
Right, exactly. Put your big girl pants on and
Exactly.
deal with it, and then come back and just get back to
Get back to
it.
work
Yeah.
and leave that back there somewhere and get back to work.
Right.
What helps me, I mean, all those I apply and they're most effective, but I also mirror the client and their voice. You know, I don't want to be fake happy, you know?
You kind of have to match energy sometimes with the clients.
Matching energy is very important to get calls deeper, because if I come off, hey, how's it going? It's good. Okay, well, let's continue to talk. They're going to be like, oh, I don't want to talk to this guy. But I also don't want to, you know, mimic him, because I don't want to be depressing if the person's depressing.
Yeah.
But I definitely have
So you
to.
kind of tone it down.
I like the term matching energy. That's really important to me, because I know, like, it shows respect to the person's situation, whatever is going on in the middle of the call, because, you know, my job is to help them. And like we talked earlier, they may not need help at that particular second. You know, there might be something going on, and I want to respect their time. But also, I got to keep them on the phone, because, you know, 1 time out of 4, they're going to pick back up. You know, so I'm trying to discover any opportunity for me to continue that call, to have them realize, okay, this is important to take care of right now. So stop what you're doing, focus on me, even if it's 30 minutes. But, you know, I'm not someone that wants to waste your time, nor you don't want to waste my time.
Right, exactly.
You know, I also find humor and levity are great. You know, if you can get the client laughing and you're laughing too, and you know, you can make levity of everything. You know, oh, you just had 3 calls come in, and I'm adding to that. You know, I'm just another. You know, I mean, you can always create a humorous atmosphere. somehow, and that helps you and the client, but I always try to throw a little chuckle in every now and then, and lo and behold, they chuckle too.
Yeah.
Even if it's not funny.
If you can get through that, how then they say, oh my gosh, I get like 17 calls every hour. And then they say, I don't even know why I picked up the phone this time, but I'm so glad I did because this has been wonderful. And you get through that sometimes and you get those people that'll say they're so happy because we actually did help them and we're not just trying to get them to switch to something because we have to make a number. And so usually they'll be like, I'm so glad I actually answered the phone this time. I don't know what made me do it. I was like, it's your lucky day.
Yeah.
But that's always nice when that happens. It doesn't happen all the time, but that's always nice when that happens.
It is nice.
Yeah. Penny, how do you deal with things like everybody deals with something in their personal life, at home? How do you flip the switch when you come to work? Do you lean on your coworkers? How do you get past whatever's going on in your personal life so that you can function and be a really great agent during the day? What do you do?
I would say both of those, actually. I mean, I am a switch flip
flipper.
the switch where I like, okay, I'm at work now. So I know what I'm doing and this is what I need to do. And I get to it. And then as far as when there are things at home, then I try to find a time where I can, if I think somebody might have a good idea of what to do or where to go or, some help that will make me be able to deal with that better, then I try to pull somebody aside sometime in the day at lunch or right after work or, whatever to ask real quick or get an opinion or, whatever it is I'm needing to feel better about the other situation.
Yeah.
But I generally try to keep work at work and home at home. Because I think everybody's happier that way. Because at home, whatever's going on, unless you have to be calling somewhere during business hours, then you're dealing with all your home stuff at home.
Yeah. You try to keep it separate. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if there's
step away. So if I have to make a call, I don't do it. I try
exactly.
To, I'll
Keep
go
the
out
calls
to my
private
car or something. So that way I'm not talking about all this personal stuff where everybody can hear. I'll go somewhere else because nobody wants to hear all that.
Right.
I do.
Well, you're going to ask me later. I'll tell you what. But nobody else wants to hear all that. That's true.
Right.
I don't think there's a video, but I don't think there's a camera in my car.
Not yet that you know of.
Well, I try to be as preemptive as possible. I have my family and my friends know, look, save the drama for your mama while I'm at work.
Yeah.
If you've got bad news to tell me and it's not super pressing that I know it or I have to take action on it or something, wait till I'm done with work. When I work till, don't even send me an ominous text message so that it'll get my mind off of work.
Like,
wait till I tell you what happened tonight? Because then I'm like, oh, girl, you know me. I want to know what's going on. I'm going to run out there and be like, what happened? So people know me, and I prep people in my life and look, you can tell me some good news or, something quick, but really only reach out to me if it's an emergency or if it's something that needs immediate attention, because they know that I take my work very seriously and I really like to be focused. I get into the zone. Even like around me, sometimes people will be calling my name and I'm like, I'm in the zone, I'm in the sales zone, and I won't hear it, or, it's easy to get off track if I get out of it. But speaking of, I have a pressing matter. But this person that's trying to reach me now knows that it should only be very, very important if they're reaching out to me, which it can wait 30 more minutes. But that's just an example of how I try as best I can to control what I can control, and things that I can't, well, then I'll deal with that. And like you said, it's just a matter of training yourself, and it's a lifelong thing where you train yourself to say, you know what, certain things don't matter. They don't matter at all, or they don't matter yet. And until they matter, don't worry about it. Don't stress about it right now. This something, whatever it is, shouldn't be taking me away from my work and my attention. So there's no reason to be addressing something right now that may never even come to be. Why are you, I'm kind of like a wait and see type person, because for so many years I would stress about something, and I feel so silly when it just never even comes to fruition. It just never even comes to be, and I feel so silly. Oh God, I worried about this whole thing, and if I would have just said, you know what, let's just wait and see what happens, or wait it out. Then we'll worry about it when it comes down to it. I would have saved so much time and energy. So that's my philosophy now too. I try to do like Brad and just try to pick apart, what's really important that should affect could affect my attitude, and what do I need to just let it go, because if I don't, it will affect my attitude negatively. So that's how I deal with that. And right.
Elsa's
Yeah.
famous words.
Oh yeah. Let it go. That's right. Let it go,
I've
girl.
also found that sometimes what you're all worried or scared about can't even come to pass, but you just didn't even
Right.
have the information yet. And sometimes if you just make a call and go, well, if a person has this and this, can they, oh no, they have to file blah, 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 to do, like you could just find out and then go, oh yeah. So that's not even an issue. Like you can find out long before you need to do anything.
Mhm.
I'm thinking of my personal life, but I mean, that would certainly apply to finding out the information ahead of time with
Right.
our clients as well. But
Right. And sometimes you're creating this whole scenario of what could be, you're trying to fill in the blanks, and you're
right.
just creating this big stressful issue in your own
Right.
head. And then it affects you, it affects your family, it affects your job. And it's so needless, because you're just making up these imaginary scenarios in your
Right.
head about how some event could go. And
Right.
so, yeah, that affects your attitude for sure.
Right. So sometimes when you find out a little background info, you're like, oh, well, it would be 6 months before they could even do that, if that.
Mhm.
So then don't worry about it until
Right.
something happens that indicates it's going to be that,
Yeah.
And then there's like, if you had that many months, you have plenty of time to do all sorts of other things.
Mhm.
So there's always alternatives, but you're right. You fill in the blanks with things because you don't know.
Right. And
You
we do
know.
that with clients too, where they start rattling off their meds or their health conditions, and we start stressing about, oh gosh, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to get through this through underwriting? I promised this lady I would take care of her and make sure she's okay. And, now I'm stressing about, I don't know if I can. So it's just kind of like, get your attitude straight and, figure it out as you go. And it may not even be anything to stress about.
Right.
Since I'm doing recruiting the past couple months, I talked to a potential candidate today, and the first thing that he said was like, I hate the company that I'm with, and they just treat me so bad. And he was just so angry, and he was
Wow.
complaining. And, as a recruiter, you're like, what is going to change? Why would you present yourself like that?
Right.
That's your attitude, there's no way I'm going to bring you on here and bring that negative energy to you guys,
Yeah. Which we appreciate.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
But I mean, sometimes people just don't realize, and I think that just goes back to people on the phone. They just don't realize how they are conducting themselves on the phone. So there's this point in the call when you're doing what you're doing, and you're talking to them, and you're asking them questions. You're trying to be genuine with them. You're trying to be empathetic with them. And then there comes a point where they're like, okay, I have a choice. I can continue to talk to this person because this person obviously cares about my well-being, whether they want to sell me something or not. At least I'm going to talk to them. Or I'm going to continue to be mean to them. And that's where we get to that point where it's like, okay, it's your choice, sir or ma'am. Like, I'm here to help you. What do you want? How can I help? And if they're like, you can't help me, it's like, I guess not. I'm sorry. And then you got to let them go. And that's where, after reps upon reps upon reps, has brought me to the conclusion that I can separate myself emotionally from the call. But also I realize, look, and Frank really helped me with this too. He's like, you don't have to tolerate that. Just be like, look, I'm here to help you. You can continue running your life like this, where you're picking up the call, yelling, hanging up, picking up the call, yelling, hanging up. Or we can end this right now and make your life a lot better. How can I help you in your situation with your Medicare? And then the majority of the time, they tell me, Well, this is the problem I've had. Okay, I can fix that.
There you go.
You know?
You addressed it head on, right?
Yes. And so then they're like, okay, and then you can move on.
Right.
But like the most of the time that we're talking today, it's like they just continue to build this wall up, and you just got to tell them like, you're going to be like this forever. Are you going to create this negative pattern in your life where you pick up the phone, you yell, and you hang up? Like, I'm here to fix that for you. And that's how that's why I don't really get frustrated. Like when you catch me getting frustrated, it's because I'm trying to do a deal. Like I'm in a deep call and they are fickle or they change their mind or something else is going on when they start to panic. And, I do what I can. And then it's like, grumble. And you're like, tone it down.
Wait, I've got to talk to my husband. Or, oh, wait, I've got to talk to somebody else. And we're like,
Yeah. And it's just something that I like me doing everything the right step. And why I get frustrated there is because there's something that I missed. I didn't close the door, and I'm like, shoot, I didn't close that door at the beginning of the call.
Yeah, there you go.
Generally
it's our fault.
Yes.
The thing is going
That's
south.
that's where I get all upset myself. I'm not mad at the
which is
client.
okay. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how you learn.
Well, according to her, it's not.
Oh,
Yeah. Clean it up, Grip. Yeah.
no. No, it's incorrect. But
Well, it's good to get a second opinion too.
No,
I
do
mean,
you
someone
do you
else
get your
knows
do you have
you
your
didn't do
pity
this or
parties
that.
anymore? Did we fix
I do
it?
not. No,
Did we fix
we fixed it.
Ah.
And I come in with bouquets of flowers flying out. It's like confetti.
Little Tweety birds
Tweety
above your
birds,
head.
like
yeah.
I'm whistling. It
Sweet
is,
aroma.
yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
thank you very much
Yeah, you
for
smell
looking
a
out
lot
for me.
better.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's that
Appreciate it.
smell I'm into.
Yeah, it's Grip.
Oh, great.
You've cleaned them up.
I'm feeling bullied.
fixed them up.
That's okay.
No, but you're right. Attitude check, yours or
Yep.
theirs, addressing it
Yep.
because either right. If they have an ugly attitude when you call, and you have to address it because you will find out one of two things. Is it a problem you can overcome? Is it something where, look, we just need to revisit this a different time. This is just not a good time. Are you wary of me because of another agent? Or is it that you're just a mean, nasty person? Because either way, either way, you don't want to continue a call like that because either if it's just that they're having a bad attitude because they're in the middle of something, well, you want to, truly, if you can't overcome that objection, well, even if you can get to the end of it, they're not going to buy because they're just too all over the place with it. They're not focused.
I remember not long after I started here, just a couple months ago, you were still sitting over there on the phone.
Mhm.
And I was sitting here like, whoa, like, I don't know if I could ever be like that because you were on the phone and being like, I'm here trying to help you. Do you want my help or do you
Right.
not want
Yeah.
my help?
Right.
You're really good at
If you
that.
don't want my help, we can hang up right now. All
Right.
I'm trying to do is help you. So what do you want to do?
Right.
This is your choice. And I'm
Mhm.
like, dang.
Yeah.
I hope I can do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, and I love that because, right, if they're going to be
Yes.
nasty and
Yeah.
that's just how they're going to be,
Yeah.
well, nasty people will let you stay on the phone and they'll continue abusing you
Yeah.
for half an
That's
hour.
that's my
Right.
point exactly.
But yeah,
is that-
you addressed it, and you know what? If I know I'm going to be nasty, okay, good. Well, then we're done here,
yeah.
and just
Yeah.
cut it because you're not here to be
I've had to get like they told me like Jacob and Frank both like, you're too nice, stop it.
Yeah.
So I'm a little better than I'm probably still too nice, but I'm better than
Yeah,
that. I'm
there's a
better than I
balance,
used to be.
though.
But
Like to give yourself credit, like, yes, you could be too nice, you could be too nice, I could be too mean,
well, you
there-
weren't mean, you were just firm, and I was just like,
Oh, I was
that was that.
He comes in hot. He comes in
I
hot.
come in very
I
hot.
was impressed
Yes.
that you were like,
Mhm.
I'm like, dude, dang,
Yeah.
tell her.
But
Actually, I think that was part of your own attitude regulation, telling these people what for,
Yeah,
if they want to come at you like that.
yeah, but there is a balance because we all have we're always improving on our calls,
Mhm.
So when you're too nice or you're too mean, I think there is it's just practice,
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure, because for me, my philosophy is if they're talking, I'm staying.
Mhm.
If they're what I have problems with are the quiet ones, like no, yes,
Yeah, try
no,
to pull it out.
like
of her.
okay,
Ugh.
and it's like, look, I'm here to help. Like the only way for me to help is if you help me help you. The Jerry Maguire saying.
Mhm.
So
And even them not talking also is an indication of a poor attitude
they
as well.
drive
They'll
me
be
even more
screaming.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's like, what are we doing here?
And
So-
they somehow turn in open-ended questions into yes and no
Yeah.
answers somehow.
It's so crazy.
I don't know
I-
how they do it.
I had one call where it's quiet one, and I just asked them a question, and they no, and I asked them another question, no, and it's like, okay, I just need a little bit more information, and I asked a question, and they said nothing, and I said nothing.
You made it awkward.
Sat
Okay.
in
Let it be
silence,
awkward.
And they're
Sit
like,
in your awkwardness.
hello?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm here, just waiting for your answer. And you know what? It worked.
Did it?
It did, because they're expecting me to like control the call.
Yeah.
And this is another Frank tactic. It's like, you are not controlling the call. You have to bring them on the journey with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I learned that early on in my career, that if I'm doing all the talking and they're not responding, or they're not, they're going to not close at the end, because that's all me. And then you get off the phone and you're like, well, I don't know what, I did everything right. I followed the script and I did this and I did that. And they changed their mind at the end. It's like, did you get any feedback? Did you get any response? And it's like, not really. So that's why I'm like, look, I can't move forward unless we do this together.
That's true.
So that was my mindset. And that helped me do really well at this place, because I started realizing, oh, it's a journey. It's not a guide,
It's the hero's journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, we got to
As
go
Frank
together.
says. Mhm.
Yeah. I'm not a Frank level yet, though.
No,
Frank
none
is-
of us.
None of us. Yeah.
Well,
Maybe
Frank has
Brad.
this tactic that is just so, he's like, what you do is you exhaust them. He's just got,
Just make to where they just
he just
give up.
wears them down.
So they're like, fine, I'll buy whatever you want.
That's-
Yet they love him.
That is
Yet they love him.
Yoda level. Yeah, but
Yeah.
he just does it so well, where it's just like, he just talks to him. Like, I was doing I was doing a final expense, and I needed his help. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to pass it over to Frank. And the person was on the fence about the final expense. And he went into great detail for a good 10 minutes about the history of plots on urns.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And it's
sounds
like, I'm just listening, I'm fascinated. I'm like, so you're telling me,
Yes, you hooked.
I'm like listening on the third call on the background. I'm like, he's just going on like, back in the early, when people would get burials, they think caskets, and now they're trying to save money because urns, and then urn plots because the funeral homes are trying to host. I'm like,
Originated back by the Druids.
yeah, I'm listening like, I don't care if this is true. This is so
Right.
fascinating.
Who knows if
Frank.
it's true? Yeah.
And the client is asking questions. He's like, I was really thinking about a casket, but now the urn is like, even with an urn, and he's just going on and spouting numbers, and it's like, Frank, I'm gonna get a final expense.
Really?
And then the lady's like, yeah, let's do it, and then just turn it back, and I finish the application. But it's like, he's just so robotic, but it's just so entertaining with all these facts and figures of just wearing you down. And I'm like, Frank, that's Yoda
That's
level.
level.
You're like, I'm just this Padawan learner, like, it's a lightsaber. And he's just like, whoom,
Yeah.
I'm like, Frank, one day I will aspire to be at that level.
Yeah.
And that's what helps. It's just like, you learn something new every day.
And we will never be at that level. All we can do
Never,
is aspire.
Never be at that level.
Yeah. We have to accept that, but we can always try. We can strive.
We can strive, yes.
Yeah.
But also to add to that too, and also I learned a lot from that too, I'll never be Frank.
Right.
And I'm grip. Like, I'm
Mhm.
going to learn from a lot of things that he does, but I'm going to find my own niche, and I get better and better as I take these. I've learned a lot from Brad. I listen, because I sit over there and I listen to his calls, and he's just like beach vibe,
Yeah.
just like super relaxed. There's no
You hypnotize
intonation.
your people into just doing
It's
what you
just
say.
so great.
You bring them down to your level of your vibe level, and they're there along for the ride with you.
I listen to myself. I'm like, man, I sound so boring.
No.
but people sometimes people tell me, say, I just trust you. You just sound
Yes.
so trusting.
You put them in a trance, and they just will. You're the Pied Piper. They will go
Well,
wherever you
yes,
take them.
and there's something to be said about
Yeah.
that. You actually, good salespeople actually have the ability to hypnotize their clients,
Mhm.
and we do that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Especially when we get into emotional realms like medical questions, we get real serious. We're delving into a deep part of their psyche. We're talking about their health, and it gets emotional. And then when you get them into that state and you're calm and relaxed, and it's like, that's how they hypnotize people. And
Mhm.
we do it subconsciously. And when they're in that state, you can pretty much do anything you want.
Mhm.
They will buy anything from you.
Mhm.
You hang up the phone and you call them back, they're out
They've
of the
snapped
state,
out
and
of it,
boom,
yeah.
that's why it's important to get all the decision makers there.
Yeah.
But it's true. I don't think I do anything special, really. It's just I'm just me.
Well,
You
I
know?
think, when I listen to you and your calls, it's very non-threatening. It's very trusting. Because when you listen to new agents, they're like, I can help you right now. There's that inflection. It's that commission breath. It's that like, I'm here to help. And I'm an expert. Hey, I'm an expert. Really? You don't really sound like one, Medicare A, B, and C, and D, and E, and F, and G. And you're like, what? You're not, but when you talk, it's just very even keel. It's very non-threatening. Everything is very confident, but in a very subdued way. And see, for me, like, I pay attention to my voice. I speak very fast, and I can come across as very condescending. Like, well, this is how Medicare works, and people are like,
this is how it works, dummy.
Yeah, and that's things I work on constantly. And you don't come off like that at all. You come off as like, we're going to do this together. We're going to go on beach. We're going to sit in our chairs.
I'm your father.
We're going to have a cocktail, and I'm just going to sit and tell you about how Medicare works. And I'm going to tell you what the best plan is for you. And then I'm just going to make my recommendation, and then we're going to have a lovely day. And I'm like, that's what I aspire to be, is just more relaxed, more even keel. And then by doing that, my words will come off as more trusting, and I don't come off so much as a condescending, professor. Like, you need to do this. Let's just do this together.
Thank you.
Have you always been that way, or has that been a career?
Pretty much.
change?
I mean, it's different when you're face to face with people. Because then you're getting into body language and that sort of thing.
You don't have that to fall back on.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I've been selling a long, long time. And it's just, I guess over time, you just kind of develop a style, but you have to be you. You can't try to be somebody else.
Right.
I mean, you can pick up good lines from people and use those. And I use my own lines all the time. In fact, I say the same things all day long. Especially people, we get asked the same questions a lot, and we develop the right answer for that we can just spit off and be confident, but not too confident, but yeah, it's, I don't know what the magic bullet is really, other than just being yourself and be honest with who you are and be genuine.
And he doesn't, one thing that I know, he doesn't sit out. And I think that kind of helps. You're just very, you're controlling the call and you're moving around. You can sense that you're very into the call. So that's cool too. I kind of, when I get into a call, I have to get up and do the Brad and walk around and just, sound more, because you think when you're walking around, you're going to create more elevated energy, but no, it helps. Just walking around, having a conversation and, bring it back down.
Yeah. And I feel like I have over my career, not as long as yours, but I also am constantly trying to develop things and try new things. And sometimes things work, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes I'll try to use a Frankism or a Jacobism and it bombs bad. It just is bad. It doesn't go over well because I'm like, oh, that sounds really fake. And they could tell that wasn't me, whatever line I was in. I'm like, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's not use that, or let's change it, and people, it'll affect their attitude. But, I try to change things up and borrow from other people without being fake, but making it my own, and just adopting things that work and, shooing away things that don't. So, yeah. Well, yeah. And my last question, we have about 7 minutes left, is what is it that we do here that help keep the attitude positive, or what things also on the other side of that do you think would help that we implement to keep the attitude positive? And what I mean by that is, one thing that we do is we have music playing all day long. Yeah, for sure. I think like upbeat music, sometimes the chill vibes, the vibe changes. Sometimes we do get in our feels and we do the sad boy playlist, Jacob's sad boy playlist, which again, we say is okay to feel your emotions and get them out, Angry play. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's one thing I like. I think that we do. I think it keeps it mellow and keeps it upbeat. What do you do? What else do y'all see around here that we do that helps?
It starts off, and kudos to you guys for bringing the right people in. Very selective of who we allow into the office. Which is very important. We can have a disruptor come in. They're not going to be here that long, because nobody wants that on the floor. you know,
Right.
and then it's so important to be, or that we strive towards surrounding ourselves with good, positive people. Very important,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and you guys do a great job at that.
Yeah,
Really
I
do a
absolutely
great-
agree
it's like-
because a negative attitude is such poison on a sales floor.
Right.
Drama is poison on a sales floor.
Mhm.
So yeah, I agree. I think we should absolutely continue being selective with the agents that we bring in for sure.
Mhm.
I think we're very supportive of each other.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
when you, like you were saying earlier in this conversation, how we notice when somebody's off.
Mhm.
And, you know, we try to talk to them, see if there's something we can help
Yeah.
with, or joke around or tell a funny story, then everybody helps lift each other up, you know?
You were sweet earlier. I guess Kim had a Advantage plan sale or something, and you were like, "Oh, congratulations! How'd that? Where'd that? Just kind of get the story." And that was sweet. And so
Mhm.
I think everybody's pretty, encouraging and supportive, like you were saying.
Well, and we learn so much when we talk to each other
Yeah.
about that sale or this, or, we learn about new situations or funny things happening
People are
or.
good about sharing information.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like people don't keep it to themselves to be like, "Oh, I'm not going to tell anybody that I know this because then I'm going to be better than them if I know something."
Right.
Like I think everybody's good about sharing stuff that they know and they've learned, so everybody can be
Better and
better.
better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also too, being experienced salesmen, all of us, we know that this time of the year is the slowest time of the year.
Mhm.
Like all of our Advantage plans, they're all locked in for the remainder of the year. So there's
Right.
no needing to switch. We're not into the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period where we have to make all these corrections to all these plans. We're approaching, AEP where all the people who are ready to switch are getting ready to review their plan. So it's like, it's just this window where it's like, all right, we are doing everything we can. So it can be the most frustrating.
Mhm.
And we all together collectively look out after each other, understand that, hey, some calls, some days may be slower, some calls may be tougher because they're just really not into wanting to switch. They want to wait. So I think that collective support just really helps all of us to say, look, even though that we are anticipating a great AEP, we are still in the now and we still are trying to do our best to make money now. So that way in that, upcoming AEP, we can be mentally, as we talked about last week, we can be mentally ready to
Right.
do have the
Your
best AEP.
essence when it comes to AEP.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a good word.
Right, because I think it's easy to think, oh, it's getting close to AEP, we're fine. But actually, in this window of time, this third quarter, I think emotionally is the toughest
Mhm.
because it is the slowest. It's when MAPDs are paying the smallest.
Right.
It's when tensions are rising. It's when you're stressing over prepping, over what is to come. That's when you feel locked in to where the agency you're at, which can be a good or a bad thing. Sometimes a stressful thing because you feel like you're stuck for good or bad or in between. And I think, it's easy to have a bad attitude or stress out to where it does affect your attitude. And I think that us being so close knit works so, it's such a great thing because, if we have things that we need to vent about, we can do that. And we have vent sessions all the time. Nobody takes it personally. People feel that this is a safe space where you can do that. Also, I think we know that the lines of communication are open between us and upper management that, what's going on with the lead issue? Are they working on it? What's changing? What's going on? So I think all that is so vital this third quarter because it just can be a make or break for your attitude or your whole, mind, body, and spirit if you don't keep it in check and keep, monitor it. So I think that's such a great thing that we do, and that definitely
It's like
helps.
a big family.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
That we feel that we can say, hey, Penny, Penelope,
Penelope.
what's up with
What's wrong
you?
with you today?
Something's up with you,
Right.
or how did this go or that go? Making sure you're okay. I think we all genuinely give a crap about each other,
Right.
and I think that's such a good thing. And I think that really, for sure, helps us all to grow, not as agents, but in our own personal lives. And it just makes it, I think, a place that we want to go to, that we wake up, because if you ever work somewhere where you hated to go to, you wake up with a crappy attitude, you're like, I don't want to go, I got to do this. But I find that I wake up and I'm happy to come here. I'm like, what? I feel bad for you, son, because I got 99 problems and not liking where I work ain't one. So I know you like that one. I'm still jiggy with it, Adrian. No, I think that's a good place to end on as far as I think we've really explored attitude in today's dojo and how that affects sales and our knowledge and just general happiness in life, work-life balance. So anyhow, that has been today's dojo. I'm Victoria Lewis, and say hi to your mom for me. I saw you smile at that one, Adrian.
You know, I have a